Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the We're Not Stumped podcast. I'm your host, Mike Bolland, and I'm hoping you're having a great day. Have a great day. Smile. Start the day out with a smile. This is Thursday. Let's see. This is for the week. I'm doing the headlines this week, and this is for the week of January 20th. Today's January 23rd. I'm taping this or recording this, however you want to say it, on January 22nd. So if there's another headline that comes up in between now and tomorrow, well, I'll talk about it next week. But you know what? I'll always listen to you. So if you have a headline you'd like me to talk about or some story, something, it doesn't even have to be an official story. If there's something you want me to talk about on this podcast, basically from the limb loss community, but it could be out of the general disabled or a different ability community, however you want to say it, go to we'renotstumped.com and let me know. There's a contact form there. I'd really, really appreciate it. So let's get right down to it today. I'm going to get into the first story, then I'm going to talk about an organization, as I have been for the last few months, that I want to highlight. But this first story really makes my blood boil, but here we go. This first story, the first headline, comes from, let's see, it is coming from lex18.com, and that's out of Frankfort, Kentucky. At least the person in the story does. And here is the headline: Blessed to be here. Amputee adjusts to life back home after alleged assault. And this comes courtesy of Megan Mannering out of, again, Frankfort, Kentucky. And here is the story. In May, an alleged domestic violence attack left a Frankfort woman under emergency amputation. According to police, Faith Newsom was riding on the back of a motorcycle in an attempt to get away from her ex-boyfriend, Brendan Cummins, when his vehicle crashed into the motorcycle, throwing Faith off the back and pinning her under his car. What an asshole. Faith was flown to UK hospital, and when she came to, her leg had been amputated. Several weeks after the incident, Lex18 interviewed Newsom from her hospital bed, where she described immense pain and seemingly never-ending schedule of surgeries. Months later, she finally is back home in Frankfort, adjusting to her new way of life. And here's a quote from Faith: "I'm blessed to be here and to still have the ability to breathe and be with my children. I'm just really blessed," Newsom said. Getting back to the story, watching her daughter playing with a mountain of stuffed animals at the base of the couch, Newsom said it was moments like this that she missed the most as she recovered from in the hospital. "I've had 5 total amputations done on this leg, and so each time it's just been worse and worse and worse. The pain gets worse with every one you get," Newsom said. "Since her body took a beating, it's her mind that's now going through the ringer." Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that can understand that point of view, Faith. Another quote from Faith: "That's one of the hardest things about this, the mental battle that I face every day." Between navigating daily tasks and endless cycle of medical appointments, Newsom said her children are the reason she gets out of bed each morning. Another quote from Faith: "They need me. They need me to get back up and get back on my feet and be a mom again." Absolutely. Getting back to the story. Sometime in the next 2 months, Newsom will receive her prosthetic leg. It will be a game changer for her mobility, but also a constant reminder of the trauma she has and will continue to endure. To victims of domestic violence, she hopes that they'll heed her advice. And here's a quote from her on her advice: "Oh my gosh, there are so many things I could say, but most importantly, I like to just say that follow your gut, follow your instinct, because I was the same way. I dealt with it, and I thought, he'll be okay, it'll be okay. No, it always gets worse." That's the end of the quote. Now, she says, there's no going back. And to end with another quote from Faith: "This year coming up, this is our year." Faith, I bet it is going to be your year. I know you're going to be stronger because of this. And thank you for being strong enough to give that advice to people that are going through some terrible domestic violence situations themselves. I'm glad you came out on this end. You're in Kentucky. I think there's a network of people that I know of in Kentucky, some great people. If I'm not mistaken, Billy Parker, Kelly Gray Parker, Rose Booth. There's a lot of amputee support out there. There's a great network of people that I would reach out if I were you. And certainly if you want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to get you in touch with the network of people that I know, which is quite a bit of people with all over the country and world now because of this podcast that have gone through some very traumatic things, and all the questions that you have about your journey can be answered by them. I wish you nothing but luck. And again, I'll say it like I said it when I was reading it. That guy's an asshole and just a terrible story. But I think things are looking up for you. Like you said, here's the quote: "This year coming up, this is our year." Yes, Faith, it will be your year. So moving on to an organization I would like to spotlight. I haven't done this before on this podcast. I'm going to spotlight an organization that I created, and it's called the Joe and Marie Bolland's Helping Hands. Joe and Marie Bolland's Helping Hands. And my organization can be found at joeandmariebollandhelpinghands.org. So let me talk about that a little bit. And for the people that are able to watch this podcast, generally speaking, I'm just speaking into a microphone, but I'm going to show you. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do it right now. This is the first prosthetic I ever had. So I got this, gosh, how old would I have been? I was probably about 1.5 years old. And the reason why I created this organization called Joe and Marie Bolland helpinghand.org, that's where you can find them, or Joe and Marie Bolland's Helping Hands, is because without the parents that I had growing up, I wouldn't be where I am today, and so fortunate that I've been able to do some pretty cool things, as far as I'm concerned in my life, and certainly other people may think the same thing. But it's all because of the strong people that I had in my corner. And the reason why I showed the first prosthetic I ever had is let's go from the beginning. First of all, when I was born, my parents didn't have any idea that they were going to have a child with one hand, none whatsoever. But from the moment they found out, they were like, let's go, let's do this. They didn't know anything about prosthetics. They didn't know anybody with a prosthetic. And they had to go through this, the system back in the day in New Jersey. Shout out to Kessler Institute, which is still around in New Jersey. Shout out to them. They were very instrumental in helping my mom and dad navigate some of the early stages of them having a child born with limb difference, as they say it now. They didn't say it then. I was just congenital amputee was the term, and that's okay. I don't mind terms. I care about results, and I care about continuing to move forward. And again, that's because of them. The reason why I brought up the hook is because my mom taught me how to use that hook, again, without any ability to research anything. She taught me how to use that hook before I was 2 years old. And there's a picture of me in a newspaper. I'll superimpose it over if you're watching this channel, or if you're watching on YouTube. I will show a picture of me before I was 2 years old wearing the hook. And that's the reason why I was in the newspaper back in the day, is because they were shocked that I was able to wear a hook, not only wear a hook, but able to control and use a hook before I was 2 years old. They always told my mom I was the youngest. I don't know whether that's true or not. I don't know if it's true enough then. I don't know if it's true or not now. But the reason why I started this organization is because, unfortunately, my mom passed away in 2016, sudden heart attack. My dad passed away in 2018. And, it's again, to honor them, just to honor them. They did such a, well, I don't want to say they did a great job with me, I guess, but if you think about it, because that's a little self-serving, but when you think about it purely from I was born with one hand perspective, and how seemingly well-adjusted I am, I think others would argue, they did do a good job. And I thought, no, what better way to celebrate their life and their legacy than starting an organization in their name. And we are, as they call it in the nonprofit life cycles, we are a startup. We've been around a little less than 2 years, going on 2 years, actually over 2 years now, but just a little over 2 years. And it's been a learning experience for us. We continue to grow. Again, we're a startup. We're starting slow. We're able to help two organizations this year, two that are very near and dear to my heart. One is Ability 360. We were able to give them a donation to help not only people with limb loss, but certainly everyone within the disabled and differently abled communities. And then a organization that I volunteer for that I just fell in love with, and that's Camp No Limits. If you're not familiar with Camp No Limits and or Ability 360, go look up both of those great organizations. I don't have their URLs right in front of me, but a simple Google search can tell you all the great things they're doing, and I believe in them. We were able to give pretty good donations to those two organizations because of generous donations from people like you. People go to joeandmariebollandhelpinghands.org and give what they can. There's a donation link that I'm the webmaster. I do all my websites, and I just full disclosure, after I get off of this, I will put the donation link back up. There was some activity through the donation link that I thought was unscrupulous, if that makes sense. So I took it down for a little while. It's going to go back up here this afternoon, and I'll continue to monitor it. But also, I have to give a shout out to Discount Tire. I used to work for Discount Tire. They've made some great donations, as the people at Discount Tire have, to the great organization. And we're looking to build it. We're looking to build it up. If you have any questions about our organization, you can certainly reach out to me on mike@we'renotstumped.com, or go to the website. Go to joeandmariehelpinghands.org and use the contact form and ask me any questions you'd like. What we're trying to do and what the mission is for this, and I'll just give it off the top of my head. I'm not going to read the polished version that's on there, but it's not just a one-phase approach. I talk about the prosthetic that my parents made sure that I had, and then made sure I knew how to use. But again, when it comes to the mental aspect of living with limb loss and having that first day of kindergarten, being 5 years old and having people stare at you, it's just a different life growing up sometimes with limb loss. It's certainly a different life having limb loss, however it happened to you. But again, my parents, without their guidance and leadership, I really don't think I know I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And so that's why they inspire me. They inspire me to help the limb loss community, the general disability community as a whole. And I thought, again, what better way to do it? But when it comes to our mission, it's to help people attain prosthetics, to really lean on the mental aspect of living differently in this world. Employment, gaining meaningful employment. That's something that no matter what my parents did for me, that was just going to be a battle that I'd have to face on my own. And I know that others that grew up with limb loss had to do, the people I've had on the show kind of echo that sentiment. And then peer networking and peer grouping. And that's why when I talked about Faith earlier, Faith Newsome on the earlier story, that I'd love her to reach out, because I am able to now network, and I do have a network of people that I know I can trust to send her to just talk things if that's possible. And that's what we're trying to do with Joe and Marie Bolland's Helping Hands. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to my whole family, to be honest with you, to have an organization that's named after those two great individuals. Because I'm not an only child. I have a brother and a sister, and they did the same thing for them. It wasn't just me, but I was a little different. But they didn't treat me any different. And that's why I am, hopefully, as grounded as I am. I think people, again, just all joking aside, people are like, I don't think you're not grounded, but it is what it is. So again, if you're able, and I ask this every week, whether it's a GoFundMe, if there's a different organization, and now I'll ask it for mine. If you are able to make a donation, go to joeandmariebollandhelpinghands.org, and it'll be greatly appreciated and put to some great organizations, and the future looks even bigger. So thank you for letting me pontificate on my own organization. I'll stop at that right now. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the We're Not Stumped podcast. If you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, you know how to reach me, Mike@we'renotstumped.com, or just go to the website, we'renotstumped.com, and fill out the form, the contact form there. I will definitely get back to you. I have, at this point, at least a month and a half worth of interviews and podcasts ready to go with some great people. And I'm just so excited to share all of the great insights and learnings, and at the end of the day, the great people that have been on this podcast, and I can't thank them enough. So as I end the podcast, I'm going to end it as I started, because I started a little different today, but I'm going to end it the same way. Everybody, oh, hey, you know what? As I'm pointing, I remembered I was looking, if you're watching the podcast on YouTube, there's some pictures. So right there, that's my dad. There's a picture of him down, and then let me lower my shoulder, and as you look right behind, that's my mom. A little older picture of my mom. So take a look at those pictures. But anyway, let's get back to what I say at the end of all of these episodes on the Thursdays episodes. I enjoy these. Everybody, have a great week.